All right, we are live for another Friday night chat. We have Jonas, who is being antisocial and not talking right now.
That's okay. I'm done eating.
Okay. And Brad. So, you said you just came back to Linux. So what's going on with that?
Okay, so I started off with Linux Mint 2 and Ubuntu 6.10, I believe. And then, like, in the beginning, like, I've listened to you and Rob talk about, like, the driver nightmare. I spent 14 hours getting a wireless driver to work. And then, so, anyway, so just due to the functionality and my other needs, I ended up getting away from it again. Probably about 5 years ago, I got back into it some. And then, so recently, I found your podcast and decided to get back into it.
So what do you on right now?
What are you on right now?
Well, I have a box with Fedora, KDE. I have it dual booting with Solus. I'm trying MX16 from a USB. And I tried Linux Mint, but it didn't install right. It won't boot now. Comes up to the grub command line, and I broke my Mac with those dual boot and boot camp. That took a while to fix.
Oops.
Yeah, oops. I told
somebody has the stream on, the sound on, so there's an echo.
Yeah, I don't think it's me. I'm not sure though.
So if you're on the stream, if you have the stream window open, just mute the sound there.
Yeah, I don't think it's me. I don't think I do.
Seems to be okay now.
Yeah.
I had the YouTube tab up. It might have been on.
All right. So you said Linux Mint won't even boot?
No, I installed it. It's installed to a USB 3 flash drive, and then it comes up, and the grub just command line comes up. So I don't know why. I don't know why it won't boot. Then I installed another install, but I had no web browser and no software, boutique, nothing. So I don't know what that was up. I don't know what was up with that either. It just doesn't like me.
That's all good, man.
That's all good, man.
Hey, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Hey, Joe. Hi, Joe.
Yeah, there's still some echo somewhere. Somebody has the YouTube stream on.
Somewhere. Somebody has the YouTube.
Yo. Joe, I don't think we're hearing you, Joe.
Yeah, hi, we can't hear you though.
That's alright, I have my mic muted.
Jonas, what's going on, man?
How's that?
What's going on, man?
I can hear you now, Joe.
Echo.
Okay. Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay.
I hear feedback though somewhere.
Yeah, somebody's got. Everybody, please just check if you have the YouTube stream on.
Wow, someone is really dark as well. Who's that?
That's Brad.
Oh, hi, Brad.
That install for the lighting in my room stinks.
So Jonas is a Gen 2 user.
Yep, I got started with Linux back in 2008. Kind of stumbled across it at a Barnes and Noble bookstore, and I was bored. I had just kind of started living on my own with my apartment at the time, and I was just all like, "Hey, this looks like fun, something to do when I'm bored." And I ended up getting really into it. And
bear with me just a second. It was he just unmuted himself. It was Brad that was doing it because I'd mute him and it would stop, but I'd unmute him back and forth. So he might.
I just did mute him just to get the sound off. Brad, somewhere along the line, the YouTube stream is playing in the background, which is causing that feedback.
Yeah, if you've got the window open, mute the YouTube stream that everybody else watches.
All right, go ahead, Jonas.
Okay, yeah, no, it's all right. Anyway, so I ended up moving away from Ubuntu right around the time they unleashed the atrocity that I call Unity. I did not agree with it at all. And it's not to say I didn't give it a fair try. Like I honestly did. I tried to like it. I wanted to like it, but it wasn't polished at all. It was extremely sluggish. I ended up switching to Linux Mint, which, at the time was, what was coming up as like one of the best alternatives. And I was pretty happy with that for a couple years. Until I saw one of my classmates in a computer science class using Arch and doing all his C++ programming assignments just on a little small, 10-inch laptop, a little ebook, running Arch on it, and he just did all his assignments on it. And I got really inspired to, give a fair look at Arch because, I thought that was pretty impressive. The fact that he could just sit there and he was using Nano, and he pretty much ran everything, terminal. He could pop open a window manager if he needed to use a browser. But it kind of got me curious about Arch, and that's what led me that direction. That only lasted about 5 months before I stumbled across Gentoo, which is where I've been sitting now for about maybe the last 3 years. So it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for everybody. I would say it really just depends on what you want out of Linux in terms of whether or not you want to try Gentoo. But that's just my 2 cents on it. But I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody might have about what it's like to live on this distro every day.
Live on the dark side. I tried Calculate Linux, and it just isn't for the noob. If you're not comfortable with the command line, if you're not comfortable digging into the config files to find out why stuff didn't work, it's just impossible to use for the average user.
Yeah, and that was one thing that I felt like Linux, when I picked up Ubuntu, that was kind of the idea, because I always had like this, aspect of I admire the command line and like I kind of know how to use it, but I couldn't do anything fancy with it. And when I picked up Linux and I had to, actually dig into it a little more, I found it actually really wasn't that bad. It's not all that different than popping open your file manager and seeing your home folder and everything there. As long as you know how to move around the directory structure of Linux, if you know how to, if you know how to search for hidden files, if you know where generally things are organized, that also helps in kind of, knowing where to look. But once you get the basics of navigating around, there's really not that much to it in terms of being able to do things, as long as you can use a text editor.
Yeah, I get that. But if you don't understand like the way it's being written, I always go on to these.
Yes, that I can.
It's just not English. I'm sorry, it really isn't English. And if your mindset isn't set that way, I'll stick with point and click. It works for me.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree in that aspect. Some documentation just really is not new friendly at all. In those particular cases, it helps to just kind of search around YouTube. Really, I had a really hard time finding people who were posting tutorials about Gentoo installations. I found a couple old ones that were outdated, but surprisingly, they're actually a little more common now and they're more recent. But really, once you've done the installation a few times, it's not that hard. Most people kind of struggle a little bit when they hit the kernel, configuring it. You can try a gen kernel, which works just fine on VirtualBox, but it's, in my opinion, a little hit or miss with actual hardware, like if you try it on a laptop or a desktop. I made it hard on myself when I tried, because I went the custom route. But for those who decide to, try that, if that's your taste, I would honestly say the only thing you really need to worry about is what your drivers are, and just how to turn them on in the kernel. As long as you have your video, your network, all that important stuff, that's really all that matters. You really can't slim the kernel down that much more. Anything that you could do to try and super customize it, which people say, oh, it makes it boot faster. the performance wouldn't really be that noticeable. All that really matters are the drivers. You know, you can remove the extra stuff, like, you know, if your machine doesn't have Bluetooth, well, then just don't install the Bluetooth drivers. So that's the benefit of Gen 2, but it is very much it's a, you know, it's a tinker heaven. You know, if you don't have the time to do that kind of stuff, you know, you just need to be up and running and you need the OS to stay out of your way, then, you know, that's why I say Gen 2 is more of a hobbyist distro. But you know, it's a great learning experience, you know, if you ever decide to try it.
Well, that's the thing. You have to have the time for that. It's the same way with installing Arch from scratch.
Yeah, honestly, I really don't have the time anymore. I mean,
you got to have the time to do it and to learn it.
If I didn't already have it installed on my system, if I hadn't been using it for this long, I don't think I would be able to be living on it full time. Because I use it both here and on my machine at work. I have it on my laptop. I mean, I run Gen 2 on all my systems.
So have you done any tutorials on it on YouTube?
No, not yet. I've actually been considering it. I started playing around with Simple Screen Recorder and OBS Studio, and I might consider maybe more like on the documenting side, you know, but I'll be trying to explain what it is I'm doing as I go along. So, you know, maybe it'll be helpful for other people who are just getting into Gen 2 or who have tried it before but have maybe found it frustrating. So that's kind of what I'm going to aim for. For me, truthfully, it really won't be about, you know, subscribers or anything like. I'm not looking to build a huge channel. These are just videos. It's like, in a way, it's beneficial for me because I'm documenting what I'm doing as I go along. So it serves as a great reference for going back if I ever need, you know, if I forgot something like, oh, how did I do this? Oh, wait, I recorded that. You know, so it's very useful in that aspect, and it's a good way to learn too. You know, one of the best ways to actually learn something is to try and teach it to others. So, you know, in that aspect, I'm happy to answer questions that people would have about anything that I might post. And that might be something I would do later on when I actually have some time, because right now it's pretty hard to squeeze in everything I like to do.
Colin, is your internet giving you problems again?
Yeah. Frustrating.
I'm sorry, man. Alan, what's going on?
Hi, I'm late.
You are late.
He was about 3 minutes late, that's all.
That's all good.
Really? Wow, I thought it was a lot worse than that.
No, we just started a couple minutes ago.
Is it working right?
Awesome.
You guys can hear me all right? Or, yeah.
Oh,
Well, you're a little skippy, but we can hear you.
Yeah.
huh?
I might just try one more thing. I'll be back. I'll be back.
Right. We need the imitation. Where's it at? All right. So we got done recording Destination Linux tonight, and there was like so much news. I don't know if do you guys use OBS at all?
Yeah.
There's some
I only
awesome
just started
changes.
playing with it.
Awesome changes in OBS coming, man. The new, what is it, 20.0, I think it is. Just fabulous. They got new Stinger transitions. They got a modular UI coming where you can take any part of it and move it around, resize it. They have an undock mode where you can, now, this is not my cup of tea, but they have an undock mode where it's like GIMP, where every piece is a separate window. They got all kinds of stuff.
But the really good news is you can just fire it up, hit stream, and it works.
Well, the best news is, we were talking about it, the best news is this is a free program, man. It's a free program that you can just download and use, and it's gaining so much support. Like, they're adding a audio clipping feature, so you can tell if the audio is clipping now. They're just adding so much stuff to it.
OBS was based off of XSplit, wasn't it? Wasn't there?
Well, I guess XSplit is the Windows, Premiere whatever of it, but and XSplit is good, but
I've never found anything that really justifies using that over OBS in my use case.
No. All right, so we also talked about, let's see here, Latte Doc. Does anybody use KDE? Who uses KDE here? Anybody? Come on.
I do.
One person. Wow.
You finally pulled me over as everybody left the party. That's the problem.
Well, I'm not even on KDE anymore. Can you believe it?
Oh man, I'm the only one now.
You're the only one. I'm sorry, dude. But Latte Doc has a new thing coming out, a new version, and it's unbelievable all the things that they've added to that too. And we go through that in the podcast, so it's awesome. Stuff that's coming out is just fabulous.
That's exciting.
So what's going on with you guys? Anything?
Guess what I did this week?
What'd you do, Joe?
What'd you
I
do?
broke my OS. No, I didn't.
I thought you were going to say you distro hopped, but that's nothing
what
new.
I did was I didn't really break the OS. I locked down. I was not real familiar. I wanted to try a different backup. I thought, let me try GR Sync, right? So somewhere along the line when I set it up, not completely understanding what I was setting up on it, it created on my backup drive, it created almost like a copy, and then the initial, what I had to identify it, was just there. It was like a locked out file, empty file. It was weird. And it worked fine. Everything worked fine as far as accessing my files until I went to go onto Steam and it didn't recognize the drive. So somewhere along the line, I locked something out. Couldn't figure out how in the world to get out of it. And all it did was allow me to, or kick me in the butt to finally load up my SSD that I wanted to do. And I thought it was going to be some big, huge dilemma, and I thought I was going to probably have to format the storage drive and all that stuff. 20 minutes to half an hour, I had it back booted up with fresh copy of Linux Mint Mate again, because I would go to Ubuntu Mate, but being that's still in beta, I don't want to do that. And it's working better than it was before, but it's like everything else. I told you last week, I said I can't leave it alone. And that's the thing. I think it comes down to, if I learn nothing else, I got to put a machine together, as I said last week, that I can play with and break and not have an issue and worry about it. So, but yeah, I thought, oh boy, I was just talking about this, not leaving stuff alone, and here I go and do it again. Yeah.
That's why I multi-boot, because if I muck one up, I just jump onto another one.
Yeah, the other drive in your Zeb is the Windows drive. So, and I still actually saved the mechanical drive that I had it on, so I was able to pull files over, and because my history would have been lost with my Steam account and everything else, so I was able to bring those files in and drop them into the registry where they needed to go, and everything got running fine. But it kind of gave me one of these, the heart started beating a little bit. But yeah, I probably should keep a second copy, but I don't have a bunch of SSDs to just leave laying around right now, and that's what I prefer to run on. This computer boots up in, my two monitors here will come up in 20 seconds, and the other one always does, even on Windows, takes a couple of seconds longer. So I think 25 seconds it boots. So I'm pretty happy.
Don't tell Das Geek about the Steam problems, because he's having issues with the Steam. I won't say what they are, but all right, somebody's got some feedback. So whoever's, let's see, who do we got? No, it ain't.
It's not random this time.
Definitely not me, because I haven't been you.
No. Not sure who it is.
It's I don't know the gentleman with the dog on his lap, and as soon as I muted him, it stopped.
Yeah, is that Sly that's just, or Sile?
Is that Ben?
I don't know the gentleman.
Ben, is that you? Ben, what's going on, man?
How are you?
Hey, if you have the YouTube stream going, can you mute that tab? Because we're getting feedback.
Oh, just thought I'd pop in here.
Yeah, yeah, you're more than welcome. You just got to mute that YouTube, the stream.
Oh, I've got to mute YouTube, duh. Yeah. So. There we go.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah. Wonderful.
You got it.
YouTube, sorry.
That's okay, man.
I think Colin's the new ski. He's frozen again.
Colin's the new ski.
I'm on KDE.
You're on KDE, man?
Yeah, Chakra.
Nice.
So, how do you like Chakra?
I love it.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's tremendous. You've done Chakra, haven't you? A review of it?
No, I have not done a review of it. I actually had it downloaded. I had the ISO downloaded to install it, and it was either that one or another one that I got installed, and I never got to do anything with it, and I just paved over it with something else. So I never did do a video review on it.
The equivalent in it of I mean, they have no GTK programs except what they allow in. They do their own. They do an Ike with it. They do their own customization and maintenance, and so they you can install anything from Yowers, but they use a program called CCR for their own that they also customize. So it's absolutely amazing. I mean, it really is slick. I come up with 180 megabytes of RAM usage when I first come up.
180.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing. It's
wow.
On KDE.
Boots in like 15
KDE,
seconds.
yeah.
That is. Whoa.
See, now you're going to make me go download that and try that out.
I'm just on Distro Watch. You and me alike, Daddy. In fact,
I gotta go down. I gotta go check that out.
That is amazing.
It's number 60.
Yeah, Neophytes Kolokotronis is the guy. Neophytos, rather. Kolokotronis is the guy that is always writing letters when people review it. He's very active developer, but they've got a number of people developing it, and it's really kept up to date.
Yep, that'll be my next download to try.
That's Duke's favorite operating system, the dog.
He's awesome.
So
I
I
still use Midfinger's as my base system. After a year, it's been fine. Just
Yeah, he had some good videos, man. He had such good content.
He was wonderful. Wonderful guy, wonderful content. Yep.
Yeah.
Am I frozen on mine, or can you hear me?
We can hear you, dude. You're pulling a ski on us and freezing, but we can hear you.
I can't.
Alright, okay.
Oh.
Muffled.
All right, I'm going to mute the guy in the bottom with the audio only so that we don't get the feedback.
Okay.
I'm not sure who that is, but...
Would that it's not Colin, right? No.
That may be Brad yet. I don't know.
There we go.
All right, so that's next on my list.
Operating system enthusiast. We don't have Mr. Tunnell yet to balance him, though. So we have
No. He said he's coming on. I messaged him, and he was actually playing Borderlands, so he said he'll be on. We were playing. Me and Das were playing Rocket League earlier. It was terrible, but we were playing it.
When you say terrible, you won, what was it, 4 out of your 5 games?
4 out of 5 games.
Last one?
Did you see the actual gameplay, man? It was just...
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have fire.
Gonna have
hard
to
work
rename you
making it
Mr.
look
Kangaroo.
that bad.
Wonderful.
What are you going to do? So, did you guys hear about Solus and them adopting snaps?
Yeah.
So, what do you all think?
I think Ike's got a lot in front of him.
Yeah, and there's a really harsh comment on Google Plus saying, how cold is it in hell today? Because I think in one of his previous comments, or one of his previous rants about Snap, he said it would be a cold day in hell before he put it on Solus. And hey, here we are.
Well, I guess Wimpress is going to give him a lot of support. I hope so, because it's posting to QT, and I on my Solus partition, I installed all the KDE and the plasma stuff, and it was fast. It was okay, but it's just going to be a lot of work to make that shift. So hopefully, Wimpress will help him.
Yeah, one of the issues he was speaking in the Telegram group was that a lot of the Snap stuff, ironically, with it being this universal platform, a lot of the stuff in, I think it was Snap Core, would assume components that Ubuntu has, where it should have that and not assume that the system already has it, because that's part of the libraries that Snap needs. So I remember saying something like that, and I don't know. It's just a lot of work.
So you're saying it doesn't check what the system's got; it just assumes you're Ubuntu based, so therefore you should have that DLL type thing.
It was a couple libraries, I think, that it assumed the system has, and that's something that Ubuntu has, and that was the issue that he had run into. Yeah, so something along those lines.
Yeah, there was a couple Google
Universal, then, is it?
Yeah.
Well, there was a couple Google Plus posts that he put up that said, yeah, he just did this to make this work, this back end to put this in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it is universal in the sense that most distributions have this, but Solus is kind of, you know, locked down to only what he wanted to put into it. So that's why he had to put extra stuff to get it to work. But yeah, it is a like a step back of what he had said, but I think it's a great thing, man. Yeah. If they can get it all worked out, I think it'll be awesome because it'll just bring more people to use it.
Yeah.
I wonder what libraries he has to add, and if he has to compile it then for his own operating system.
Well,
because
let me see if I can find the Google Plus post.
Build it and then compile it. Yeah.
The thing that worries me about
it's not all that. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, he's actually right. If he's maintaining the distribution himself, like if he's updating the repositories with what he wants in it, then yeah, you're absolutely right. He does. He has to modify the source code with their customizations, whatever fixes or patches he wants to apply, and then once he does that, he compiles it. He then pushes the binary to the repository, and that's what you're grabbing when you run your updates.
Yeah.
But I think he was saying on one of his posts, though, that you should be able to get these snaps from anywhere. So he shouldn't have to take the snap, take it into Solus, recompile it, and then play with it. That goes against the whole grain of what a snap is. So yeah, there's a lot of work to be done still.
Right. The basic
also depends on the dependencies.
Needs to be built and compiled. Once done, then it should just transport or bring in those packages, which he may not want some of them, but anyway.
I think a lot of the it wasn't necessarily like snap packages themselves. It was the core snap component that he was adding.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Right, because the packages are ready to go on any platform.
Yeah.
He's got to make the big platform.
It was probably a dependency for something he wanted in there. So he didn't want it, but it was a dependency. So
yeah, well, part of that is, if I'm looking at this one right, part of that is AppArmor that he had to, so it could enable it in Solus for the sandboxing part of snaps. Yeah. So yeah, it is all back-end stuff that it's just for the main part of snaps to be able to install.
I think the one thing that worries me about this move is that it's going to become sort of a flood when people have issues with their software not working. They're going to flood the Solus stuff with, hey, this isn't working. This is a problem with Solus, even if it may not necessarily be a problem with Solus. But that typically happens to any project that expands beyond their initial base.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you know, when you decide you're going to create your own distribution, it's just all like, okay, congrats. You do realize what that entails, right?
Opening up
yeah, that means you are now responsible for providing security updates and patches for anything you offer. So it's just like, you know, you got to be realistic about how much time you have on your hands, because this is most likely unpaid. And then, you know, obviously it helps when you have a team of people that you can delegate. some of these bug reports too, and okay, you're gonna work on making sure all the GTK stuff is being patched and updated. You're gonna work on all the QT stuff, and you delegate as best you can with the resources you have. The more resources you have, the more efficiently you can delegate your resources by focusing on something very narrow. Like, you're just going to focus on making sure Xorg is completely updated and patched, and that's all I want from you. So that's where manpower really does play a huge factor. And then you have to worry about what happens when people come and go, and when they don't have the ability to replace those who've left, and that's where some of these smaller projects end up dying off.
I think right now they've got, 5, 6 people on the core development team. I think Sunny Flunk is working on the KDE stuff. Joshua Strobel is working on a lot of the graphical stuff, I believe.
And Gnome.
And Gnome. And I think Ike's full-time, and he does all of the core stuff, if I'm not mistaken. That's pretty much his wheelhouse. And Budgie.
He's the dictator.
Yeah.
Supposed to be an LLC. Protection that he wanted, and financial, arrangement that he wanted. So I hope it goes well. Continues to.
Yep. Be a corporation, basically. You more or less have to. You more or less have to do that if he's going to work on it full time, and actually get paid for it. So.
Right, not for profit corporation.
Yep. So I think overall it'll be a good thing. I mean, yeah, there'll be downsides to it, and it'll be problems with certain programs. But to be honest with you, let's be honest. It's solely focused on desktop users, and there's no way that it's going to take off with desktop users if it's got software that's locked down where you can't install certain software. Yeah, for everyday users, you may be able to get by it with with who just want to browse the web and check their email and stuff. But for the main desktop users, that's your target audience. To me, you would want to get every one of those you could. So I think it's a good move to go with Snaps.
Is he moving completely away from? No, he can't. PKG.
Kind of. He's building his own. I remember them saying, in terms of package management, they're working on their own package management system.
Was that the one called Ferid or something stupid? Yes, some really weird names for stuff, don't they?
I don't know.
Okay.
At least it's not a dooflicky again.
Well, then, he's helping it, I think. That's going to be amazing then. And then he'll have a large repo, essentially.
Well, I think the general gist of it is what they're using right now, this EO package stuff, they're kind of straying away from it anyway. They're not even really EO package right now as it is. They've got a bunch of bits and bobs tied into it, so it's going to be a lot easier for them to, not necessarily easier in terms of work, but easier in terms of being able to manage something if it's their own sort of push there that's built to handle that workload.
Well, the current one, I think,
that's what Michael described before. He basically said it's a mishmash of everybody else's work put together. So, and if you see Ike, I mean, he's like a guy that's driven right now too. Every time I've seen him popping up on somebody's channel, he's pretty driven on what he's doing.
Ready
to
go.
I think with the direction he wants to go, he's not. You get some of these. I think some of these developers out there that. They're, like Michael was saying last week, was that they're always building off of somebody else's stuff, and sometimes you just got to go from scratch and start with your own. I think to get better control of what you're putting out for a final product, don't you think? That's what would make sense to me, don't you think?
Well, he's done a 1995 thing and built it on, so I want it to work.
Yeah.
Well, Elvis in the chat says, what exactly does he mean by split the OS from the distro? So I take it that he means that he's splitting the core of the operating system away from making it basically independent from everything else.
I see. I don't think I've looked into that quote. I haven't seen that one.
That doesn't make sense. But
splitting the OS from the distro, maybe he means moving away from the whole sort of distro type system and actually being an operating system. I remember that was a thing at some point. But in terms of splitting the OS from the distro, I'm not sure what that entirely
if that means like going another OS instead of Linux Haiku, I don't know, but I hope not.
Well, you know what I did? I took a quick look. I don't remember hearing what you guys are talking about, but even just typing it in for a quick search, this is just an example, and it might have nothing to do with this. I'm going to use the M word, but there was a first article that popped up was a 2014 article. It's time to split the distros in two, and that was on InfoWorld. And even just a general description up there says, you know, why address them as a distribution, and Microsoft released completely different operating systems for desktops and servers. So I'm not saying he's necessarily looking at a server point, but if he's looking to do something different with the actual OS itself and how it functions, maybe he is looking at something more than just a desktop.
That would be interesting.
But isn't that just semantics and a play on words?
I think so.
It could be.
Because a distro is an OS, is an OS, is a distro.
I think it has to be.
Yeah, but I think here's the thing with Ike. Every time that we talked to him, and every time I kind of thought I knew where he was going with his train of thought, he has a knack for thinking about things ahead, and maybe not always saying it. Like, for example, that may be not exactly clear to everybody of what he's talking about, but he's always looking at it from a different angle.
Right.
And when he actually explains it, it actually makes sense. But he has to actually explain what he's talking about before it actually makes sense.
Don't you think, Rocco, it's got to do with the desktop? He wants to be able to have multiple desktops quickly installed. And to do
that's what I gather from it, that he's talking about having a base part of the operating system, like Solus itself, with just the bare necessity base, and then it being agnostic from everything else. So you can have GNOME, you can have KDE, you can have all of this, and you have the lean tree of the operating system, but you have all of the other ones that work well with it.
The OS is agnostic to the desktop.
Correct.
Yeah.
Here I found an article from that Ike was in, this back from I think January. I don't know if it's 16 or whenever, but it says he's looking to add an option, and I do remember him talking about this on Brian Lunduk's about trying to generate some, you know, basically like paid for apps or whatever, and maybe that's what it is, because it says add an option to split free and non-free software to allow the installer to dynamically install non-free bits like codecs. Now, again, this goes way back to last year, but I remember as of recent, in the last month maybe or so, that him being on Brian Lunduk's show talking about trying to generate apps that would, build apps that would generate income. I hate to use a comparison, but it's kind of like what Microsoft's doing now too. The OS is free, but the apps are what's going to generate their income.
Sure.
And maybe that's where he's going with it, if that makes sense. That might make more sense.
Well, you know how to cue this question up.
Like Element. Yeah, I saw that interview, and then the interview with
Daniel Porter,
developer. Yeah.
Episode 33 of Linux Destination. Ike, what does this mean?
Well, I just don't want to get shot for bringing the M word up twice in one segment here already.
We plan on having Ike back on, but you know, time constraints, his schedule, all that good stuff. So you more or less want to. Maybe we'll wait until Budgie 11 comes out or something major. Who knows?
See, I don't know if this is a concern.
The day when you go back to doing the KDE tweaking, those were wonderful. It was a wonderful series, but I know that it feeds your OCD stuff. You said so. It makes you tired. That was.
KDE makes me nervous now. I still like it as a desktop, but once you have it set up the way you like it, it's really, really frustrating when you're forced to upgrade between major versions, which generally just breaks everything. And it's even more annoying when your distro forces it on you, especially when it's not polished or, you know, production ready. I guess if you want to use a software development term. So yeah, that's always really frustrating. And as much as I love KDE, I hesitate to really try and build something that I like in KDE 5, only because when the day comes that KDE 6 or whatever the next big major thing is comes out, it's just going to blow it all away again.
Well, that was his point, and I think Greg Tennell's point that GTK was much more problematic. No, much more problematic with breaking stuff, much more breaking stuff than KDE. But you have to learn the core tweaking of KDE, which is a bit involved for someone new.
And they changed the whole thing. Well, they didn't change, they didn't do drastic changes, but there was quite a bit of overhaul in Plasma. I mean, they kind of put stuff back where things were, but
I think
I wasn't feeling it very early on.
yeah, a lot of the difference between the way GTK stuff breaks or GNOME stuff breaks and the way KDE stuff breaks is that a lot of the GNOME pushes that are being made break a lot of stuff for people downstream, people who are developing other desktop environments, and that's why Budgie was having so many issues. Whereas Plasma, when that kind of breaks some stuff, it does it for the users, not really as much as for the people developing downstream.
Right.
True.
It does. And here's the problem. KDE Neon is basically I mean, you have Kubuntu, but you don't really have a whole lot of Ubuntu-based choices for KDE. Okay, so KDE Neon is pretty much the go-to KDE Plasma version, and that is so like unstable. I did videos on it, and for a time it was really stable, and then they updated Plasma and it got really, really unstable. So it was kind of disappointing to see that, because you would think that I know it's really not meant for being stable, but if you're putting out this is your go-to distro for KDE Plasma, this is what your name is basically, KDE Neon, it should be a little bit more stable than it is. So what do you guys have as good bases for Ubuntu for KDE? What would you go to?
Ubuntu?
Netrunner.
Yeah, Netrunner's pretty good.
Yeah, but what is Netrunner?
Oh no, it's based on Debian now.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's based on Debian, so that would be like
unrolling his arch. Yeah.
Yeah. So what were you going to say, Zeb?
I was going to say that KDE Neon was never ever meant to be a production desktop environment. Yeah,
correct.
It was for the guys at KDE to do their messing around with, do their playing with. But it's grown as its popularity has grown. People are now assuming it's a desktop, a proper OS.
Well, we're assuming part of that is we're assuming because they do put in KDE Neon LTS. I mean, if you're going to put LTS in it, you would expect it to be stable.
User LTS.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a user edition, there's a developer edition, just like you said. So
I haven't used it for a long time. So is the LTS not stable?
The LTS, they want a stable kernel for development. That's what I understood that to be.
Well, like I said, when I first started doing the KDE videos, KDE Neon was stable, and then it just got, and that's what I guess grew in its popularity, because it was stable there for a while. And it kind of, or should I say no, it was never meant to be a desktop for everyday use. It wasn't meant for main distribution, but, as it grew and it became stable and they put out these different versions, user, developer, and all these stuff, LTS, you're kind of putting people in a false sense there to say, yeah, this is getting to be, or should be at least, stable. So...
yeah.
So again, I go back to I'm going to be switching from this GNOME at some point, and I would like to figure out what I'm going to do, either Budgie or KDE, and I want to stick with an Ubuntu-based distro, but I don't know what I would pick for a KDE Ubuntu-based distro that had the latest 5.10.
Chakra, because when I went to install it again today, I did the second install. For example, one of your pet peeves was always K-Wallet, right?
Yep.
I just put in Blowfish Classic, no, and it's gone. It doesn't bother anything.
Doesn't pop up or nothing.
Not at all. Blowfish Classic, and then the rest,
me already,
no, gone.
You're convincing me already. I'm going to try it.
And Lock is working fine.
Nice.
But also, if you haven't tried it, try Netrunner. Netrunner on Debian is really good.
Well, I wonder what version of KDE they use.
Don't know. I'll have a look for you.
I did know that. We did talk about in Destination Linux the other week. But
on the KDE FAQ page, is this the KDE distro? The first thing it says is nope. KDE, nope.
Well, that's
KDE
why I said,
yeah,
it's not meant to be there, but it.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
so what you're doing is you're saying, oh, don't use this, but you're making it so that everybody uses it.
Yeah.
You're doing everything for
Very
everybody
attractive
to use it, but you don't want people to use it.
And I suspect that your videos, when you were using Neon, had a lot to do with its rise in sudden popularity. But it is a developer's playground, as we find out.
Appear in chat, Rocco. That's from the Netrunner page.
Now, if you go to Debian KDE, I would suggest, you're going to hate this, Canonics Nightly.
Oh man,
yeah.
Every week I bring.
Well, I'm one of those people, as weird as it is. The name draws me in a little bit too. So, I mean, if it sounds cool like Neon, I'm tempted to use it. So.
Well, yeah, but it's essentially adapted KDE 4, and when I tried it again, I don't want to do this anymore.
So, what's the difference between Netrunner and Netrunner Rolling?
Netrunner Rolling is on Arch. Do you remember it split off to become New Runner?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Well, New Runner split off from Netrunner. Well, now because Netrunner went to something like Mui or something or other, some really weird name. But now the guys who originally did Netrunner have come back with a Debian version.
So NURUNNER is Arch based?
Netrunner 1706 Rolling is Arch based.
Interesting.
Netrunner 1705, I think it is Debian based.
Oh yeah, I see that. Yep.
Wow.
You're right. It's one's based on Debian and one's based on Arch Manjaro.
That is one heck of a.
I would just use K-Revenge,
But you do realise this Netrunner is released by a company as well that backs Kubuntu or that backs KDE. It's like Bluefish or something.
Yeah, Blue something. I forget what it is.
Blue Golf.
Yeah, so it's not just developer guys getting together to put something out. This is an actual organisation who wants to back KDE.
Well, I mean, speaking of KDE, Cupzilla recently, there was an announcement that KDE is now taking on Cupzilla as a KDE project. So there's another.
I love Cupzilla.
In the wheelhouse. Yeah. There was a bunch of tweets from the Lubuntu page. I'm sure KDE's got something to say about it as well. But so I mean, they've got that going for them as well. Hopefully we'll see some development.
I don't even think the Conqueror is on this Chakra on KDE much anymore. Let me see if you can.
Well, see, here's the thing. That's why I said the Ubuntu. Why is it so hard to find an Ubuntu-based KDE that runs good? Because I really don't want to use Kubuntu.
That's one of my issues with Ubuntu and the way Canonical handles their updates, and just I don't know. I keep saying the 6 month cycle just doesn't seem to be doing it for them. I'd rather they release something stable and polished than half-assed.
You could always
Well,
go
Why don't
zip.
you try Revenge? Why don't you try Revenge OS?
Well,
Maybe
okay, and that's what I'm saying. There's plenty of good distros out there if I wanted to move to Arch, like Revenge OS,
Yeah.
and Tergos KDE is great. So there's no, I'm sure the
And
Manjaro
Tergos, yeah.
KDE is fine as well. But
Oh, but
if
you
I
want
want to stay
Ubuntu.
with Ubuntu, it's like you got Kubuntu, and that's about it. I mean, because like I said, KDE Neon pretty much takes itself out of the race. So what else? What are you left with?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I abandoned desktop environments because of little complications like that. It just makes life much simpler.
Well, it
You
makes
mean
the
you're all
choice that
back.
much harder because you're trying. Like for me, I'm on a GNOME and I'm trying to, decide whether I want to go with Budgie or go with KDE. But it makes that decision that much harder because I can decide on KDE, but then I got to decide if I want to move to Arch.
On
Yeah.
that particular note, you maybe actually be better off sticking with GNOME. Now, I know Lunduke had an interview with one of the GTK developers a while back. I don't know if someone was referencing that earlier, but they did mention that they are in the process of revamping GTK to, the new GTK4. They're trying to address a lot of the design issues that they had with the way GTK3 was originally implemented. They found themselves trying to deal with issues they hadn't originally compensated for, which honestly is basically what software development is. You make something, then later on you're like, well, maybe that wasn't the best way to do it. Let's try it this way now. So that's kind of what's happening with them. And unfortunately, it is a little bit of a slow process with it. But right now, I'd say you still have time on GNOME 3. I really like it, actually. I was playing around with it about maybe a month and a half ago. It really impressed me in terms of speed and responsiveness, which was one of my biggest complaints when GNOME 3 first released. It was horribly slow and sluggish. It's still a little heavy on the resource side, but it's not that bad. It's very workable. I like what they're trying to do. Das Geek actually did a really good general review of GNOME 3. I think he seems to have kind of caught on to what it is they're striving for. And when you figure out what the niche of the desktop environment is aiming for and how to leverage it in a way that's useful to you, that does take time. And I think sometimes maybe people get frustrated too easily and they just kind of give up. So, I'd say if you want to try GNOME 3, it's definitely pretty good. I'd feel more comfortable on GNOME 3 than Plasma at the moment.
Well,
That's just me personally.
I'm running GNOME 3 right now on Ubuntu, so I am pretty comfortable with it. And as far as the resources are concerned, if you have the resources for it, it runs fine.
Yeah.
The problem is when people try to install it on machines that don't have the resources that can run it. That's when it starts to really act slow. But it's the same way with KDE. It used to be. KDE has gotten way better on resources, but the way KDE used to be was it was heavy. But if you had the memory and the processor and everything, if you had the resources for it, it ran fine. But you're not going to install it on older machines. It's GNOME 3 I'm talking about. You're not going to install it on older machines and have it run as well.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I found out exactly how bad it is to install GNOME 3 on a machine with a Core 2 Duo because it crapped itself, and that was a bad experience.
Well, it's between Budgie and because I've been running GNOME and I'm ready to make a switch, and it's either between Budgie and KDE. So we'll see what happens.
I noticed that Chakra does have control. Really, all they've adapted that for QT. They have it under their PPR, which is that's how they can get the 100, 200 megabyte RAM usage to startup. They're doing it all that way.
Right. Well, I'm going to definitely try out Chakra on my secondary drive and see how it runs. And you know, who knows? Maybe I'll, even though it's Arch based, I really didn't want to go Arch based because I wanted to not have to worry
But
about.
it's so independent. It's so independent of Arch. They're the ones that made the Octopi installer, you know. And I have K Elementary, their panel, you know, your beloved transparent panel running. Great.
Yeah.
But
Well, they are.
sorry,
Go
Colin.
ahead,
go on.
Colin.
No, you're right, Seth. Go ahead.
I was going to say, has Chakra though gone the same way as Chaos? That you can't just install what you want; they have locked it down so that it is just Qt.
No, you can go. For example, you could go to the. You can go. You could put Arch Linux FR in the Pacman Con. You could put. I mean, you can go to archlinux.org and you can download any source and install it with Make package. You know, but as long as you're willing to, you know, to realize it may not. It may not be exactly. You know, everything may not work, but so far I've had no problem. I put it in Firefox.
Break up their tight integration.
Yeah, I put in a Firefox nightly with Make package by going to the archlinux.org and, you know, their AUR, so it's worked fine.
Well, Rocco, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Okay. Between Budgie and KDE, does KDE have a cute bird mascot? I mean, I'm just saying.
All about the look.
No, I love Budgie. It ran great. I mean, the defaults were awesome. The menu wasn't that great, but the menu's getting better.
It is.
Budgie was great. It's just that it's not. I mean, the question I'm asking myself is, am I going to be okay with not customizing it? Am I going to be okay with the defaults and letting it sit there and letting it be itself? Or will I eventually want to customize it somehow? Because Budgie is not quite as customizable as, say, even GNOME when you consider extensions. You know,
Yeah.
when you consider extensions, GNOME is pretty customizable. But then when you go with Budgie, it's great as defaults. The defaults are great, but if you really want to customize it, the options aren't always there.
Theming can be a bit troublesome as well sometimes.
Well,
That's where-
because of the panel and the Raven panel and things aren't used to that being there. Yeah, it can be a little bit tricky.
And when I press the Windows key, the menu, your
It
Windows
stays open.
Ubuntu GNOME is going to be bringing out a desktop dock, and it's not going to be dash dock, so that's something new that's going to happen in 17.10. So they don't really say what it is, so that could be something worthwhile looking towards.
Well,
Rocco.
that's kind of like a draw to staying with GNOME, is the fact that there is so much action going on right now because of, you know, Canonical switching to them, because of all the flurry of activity of people making extensions and all these. Yeah, there's some pretty good ones coming out. Yeah. Along with the good ones that are already there. It's kind of like that's where the hotbed of action is, and that's kind of a draw to stay with them to see what's actually going to happen.
Well, I mean,
and they're also integrating KDE Connect by the looks of it, which is what they're saying. So that's another good thing too.
Yeah, there's an extension out that does that, isn't there?
Yeah.
That, yeah.
Yep.
Plasma runs super good on if you install Solus Budgie and all the KDE dash applications in Plasma, you get everything and it's fast. It just not everything will be as tweakable.
Well, I even thought about Solus, you know, because actually I don't know if Chuck is still in the chat. He was in the YouTube chat earlier. He had messaged me and said that he was able to get Zoom working in Solus, and one other thing. So it's like, you know, like if I can get like the one or two programs that were keeping me from using Solus, you know, I might just switch to Solus Budgie too, because then I can I can install Solus Budgie and then just install the KDE on top of it.
I've been holding
go
out
between the both of
them.
So.
But you can get the OSB 20 on on Solos. I mean, I did it.
Yeah.
How did he get Zoom running? Did he say? Where did he install
didn't
it?
say. He didn't say exactly how he got it running, but he said that he would help me out if I switched on how to get it. So
Chuck's in chat
Because I'm
now
running-
as well.
I'm running Solus Budgie now. If you can tell me where it's from, I'll see if I can install it right now.
Right.
See if it
Just add
works.
KDE-applications in the Plasma Meta, and you'll find that it really isn't, it's about 1,000 megabytes or something, but once it's in, it's fast.
Chuck, you're welcome on to the peer in if you want to come on.
I've been holding out on really using Solus until like there's an official KDE flavor because
Yeah, I understand.
yeah, but it's just the
it's
same
probably
and it
not going to
doesn't
be
work.
quite. I expect the Solus KDE version to be like the Budgie version, where it's kind of integrated. Everything looks great. If we installed it now, it probably wouldn't be that.
Be a little different, yeah.
It would almost be a downer to install it now.
And to get it to work
wouldn't
as
be
well,
quite
you have
polished
to
yet.
install all of the dash dev versions.
The
of the
reason I went
products.
from Solus with the KDE to Chakras, just Chakras so much nicer and more beautiful and fast.
No, they're still
Chakra
working.
really is nice. I played with Chakra for a little bit back when I was tinkering with Arch, and it was nice. I did like it. I was pretty impressed with the ease of the installation, actually, which caught me off guard because at the time I was struggling with the command line Arch-based install.
Sure. Well, they're the ones that made Octopi. They know what they're doing.
Well, you guys talked about customization. I don't know too many hardcore Linux users that don't like to customize stuff. I think that's one of the things that turned me off to Unity. Unity, even if it worked well, it was just very bland, very boring, very just bare bones to me. And yeah, I want something that looks nice, but I want to be able to tweak it and have it set up exactly how I want. And I don't know too many other Linux users that don't do that. I saw your hand go up, Zeb. But, in fairness, Peppermint, yeah, there's some tweaks I've done there, but when I've used it, I haven't changed that much. But then I still think that that's still a little more limited than even some of the other distros. So I don't know. The reality of it is how many of us ever stay on one any long time. I think this is the longest I've been on one for a while right now, too.
This is the longest I've been on one. But like you said, it's the ability to customize it, and that's where I'm kind of hesitant with Budgie, because I love Budgie the way it is, but the ability is not there to customize it. So if I'm on it, and I don't want to continually hop on my main distro. I like distro hopping as far as, I like checking out things and everything, but for my main system, I'm kind of like want to stick with something for a while. So that's why I said I got to ask myself, am I going to be okay with Budgie and not being able to customize it? Because the ability to not be able to is kind of a downer.
I'm still running Elementary.
Yeah, I mean,
there's an operating system you can't customize.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
You do eventually reach a point where, and I guess
promises.
And I guess it goes back to the conversation y'all were talking about earlier, where they were saying that, separating the OS from the distro, the idea there is that at the end of the day, regardless of the distro, when you strip it all away, it's still the same Linux kernel. It's still the same set of utilities that compose an operating system, including the Xorg server, which is what gives you your display and your GUI environment. A distro is like a flavor. A lot of times these distros, Ubuntu, Mint, OpenSUSE, Fedora, Solus, Neon, they deliver something to you that's already very nicely customized. And it's a huge difference when you install something like, KDE from its base or GNOME as a base. They do put a lot of work and effort into polishing it and making it look customized and themed. So that's more of the distro marketing part, I think, that they were referring to in that discussion.
You don't like the Mate desktop, Rocco? You don't like the Mate desktop?
I actually do, and you know what? I did the video on the alpha, and if it was stable enough to run, like when it comes out, I might end up switching to that, because it's one of those distros that just work.
Yeah.
you know. And
No,
I had that
talking,
one issue with Caden Live, and
So there you go, Solus Mate.
Solus
Works really,
Mate,
really well.
talking about,
Chakra mate.
Chakra Mate.
Hey.
That sounds like some sort
even
of
my
coffee blend.
Well, so
Cheers.
I did
Solus
run.
Mate.
I had Solus Mate installed for
I just
probably a week. I had Solus Mate installed for about a week, and it ran pretty darn good, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it does.
No, it does.
English Bob's been doing some videos for the last few weeks or a month or whatever now, with just about every game I think possible on Solus Mate. Yeah, and he's proven just about everything.
OBS, excuse me.
Yeah, I must ask English Bob, can he get Battlefield 1 working? And there you'll be sold.
Yeah, then I'll be sold. If he can do that, then I'll be sold.
So
I think
does it not?
one.
Yeah, go on, Jack. Sorry.
Oh, no, this is kind of a split off.
Carry on.
Okay. I think the one thing that dragged me off of using Mate, and I've only really experienced this in Ubuntu Mate, was that the sys tray was always really fidgety. The indicators would only pick up half of the notifiers, and the notifiers would only pick up half of what they were supposed to. So I could either use both or none, and they scaled improperly in proportion to each other, and that drove me up the wall.
Yeah, there was some issues with the system tray. A lot of times they'll get cut in half for me. I don't know exactly why. They just won't display right, or they'll display two of one thing.
They'll be right up next to each other.
The other issue that drove me nuts with Ubuntu Mate was Plank. When you would use Plank, I would see it. I would see the panel in Plank. So it was like the mate panel or the Mate panel was running as an application in Plank. There's no apparent reason for it. I even filed a bug for it, but they never. It's never been like confirmed or anything.
It was strange.
But how long was that? How long was that? Because in all the time I've had my Mint Mate on here, I haven't experienced anything like that on here.
See, and I've never
much of a
experienced
jumbled
it.
mess as it's supposed to be, or put together like a Frankenstein OS, according what Mike said before. I mean, if it's really, I think it runs. I've really grown to like Mate. I mean, I'm very, very surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised, but it's been overall really stable for me. Other than that one, which hasn't happened since, and I make sure I turn it off. But remember, I told you about the notifications issues where if YouTube popped up and you did a video and it popped up on the desktop, I couldn't get rid of it. It stayed there. That was the only bug that I've had so far, really, with this.
Yeah, but I think when Michael was talking about Mint in general, he's talking from a technical standpoint and somebody that knows all of the background and the coding and all that stuff and the philosophies behind everything. We're using it as a user. So the finished product for an end user is fine. Mint works perfect for most people, and there's no problems with it. He's looking at it from a developer standpoint and all the back end stuff. So I always just got to go from where it's coming from.
I don't mean to sound that way. I just reference it because he has some really good information out there, and that's very true. I mean, it's looking under the hood at it, which to me that's important too to know, because obviously that was where he mentioned Ubuntu Mate itself. He really seemed to like. So and honestly, when I looked up the alpha in a virtual box, it ran surprisingly well in there, and I was very pleased. And I made it look just like the desktop I've got here. So that when that gets out with I might even wait till next year before I do when the LTS comes out or something. But
well, things he was talking about, like the philosophies behind it, they only come out every once in a while, and you'll see it like when they had their breach of ISOs and stuff like that. That's where he's talking about the philosophy behind that. And the end user really, like I said, doesn't see that stuff. Okay. Yeah. Once in a while you see that, and then it'll be a glaring thing that points to that. That's what somebody like Michael's talking about. But for a normal everyday user, you're not going to notice.
Well, that breach it was just stupidity on the part of the web developer when they done it, really, when you think about it.
I couldn't save panels in Ubuntu Mate either, Rocco. I've tried saving the panels, they don't save.
Oh, in the alpha?
Yeah, it must be just still in process, I would say.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
had that
Are you
as
using
well.
the nightly build though? Because apparently that's been fixed.
Has it? No,
I haven't
that was
updated
not-
mine.
Yeah, I saw a
Okay, I
YouTube
haven't
video the other day where someone was saying it was working.
Oh, okay. Right, fair enough. Yeah,
I did
knew it'd be-
file a
I
bug
mean, it's
for-
an old-
What did I file a bug for?
The advanced menu.
For something. What in the video I talked about something that wasn't working right. Oh, the HUD coming up
Oh,
with
yeah.
the key combo.
Yeah.
And I did file a bug for that, and there were quite a few people that responded to that bug and said, "Yeah, I'm doing the same thing," and they were trying to figure out what it was coming from, like what specifics, like if it was coming from open windows or specific programs, but it still hasn't been confirmed yet.
And I've just remembered where I saw that video.
Where?
Big Daddy.
Well, the I didn't test it though. That's the problem. I didn't test the layouts. I looked at it, and hey, this is what it offers now. It offers you to save the layouts and everything, but I didn't actually go and test it to see what the layouts saved or if you could save more than one. And I just haven't got back to it yet. So
Well, the thing that still drives me up the wall.
Partition with Alpha, and I followed the video to install Mr. Rockwell. I hope that works.
Sill's breaking up really bad for me.
yeah, I'm sorry,
okay.
man. You're breaking up. Say that again. Go ahead. Say it again.
Oh, I said I installed Mate Alpha, and I have not had tremendous luck with the HUD either.
Well, the HUD was giving me all kinds of problems. I mean, only a quarter of the time the HUD would come up. So something's definitely wrong, and they know that something's wrong. They just can't figure it out yet. So
Well, Steve is here now. We can talk about Solus and how wonderful it is. We are the Brady Bunch.
I've never actually tried Solus before.
really, you got to try it.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's got
who's the
the
gentleman in the
single-
white shirt?
It's got the single fastest
Jonas.
installer I've ever come across. I mean, every time I install it, it installs in less than 100 seconds. You've got to fill in all your bits and pieces, your name and where you want it to go and all the rest of it. From the moment you click go, 100 seconds later, it's installed.
Wow,
No,
that's
it's
pretty
quick.
good. Yeah,
it's
I
very
mean,
quick
'cause
and
recently I was also about maybe a month ago. I was poking around with, some of the more common distros. I took another look at Mint. I took a look at OpenSUSE. I took a look at Debian. They're all they all work pretty nice. I can get them set up, with their respective desktop environments the way I need to, get stuff done. And yeah, compared to what you just described, 100 seconds, yeah, no, none of those distros will even come close to that.
If you go to a Debian net install, it's like 20 minutes or something mental. By the time it's downloaded all the stuff.
One of the things I noticed is when I've got Solus installed and I open up like Neopets or something, it says packages installed around 780, 800 packages. Or if I install like a base Ubuntu system, it's like 1,500 and something like that. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well. Just the default is so massive on these other systems, it takes forever.
Steve, what's going on, man?
The Solus Mate man.
Mm-hmm.
Ew.
I saw videos.
Zeb, I've put this on just for you.
Yeah.
Doff of the cat, mate. How you doing? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Can you hear me
Steve,
all
I
right?
saw
Is the
your
mic
videos.
working?
OBS.
No,
Yeah,
you're
the
good.
mic's working.
Good. How are we all? What? Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a movie, The Magnificent Seven. How about
That's
that? Well, The Magnificent Six and a decrepit old git on the end here. How about that? Hey? Oh, yeah.
So,
So-
Steve, we were just talking about Battlefield 1. Can you get that working on Mate?
Yeah, piece of cake. Absolute,
There you go.
I mean, it's 6 amateurs here. Don't bother me with such trivial questions. You know what I mean? I am the guru. If you ask me to get it running on SCO Unix, that's a bit of a challenge. But Linux, really? Battlefield 1, you'll find you have mixed results. Do you know what? It's the same as Warframe. and I'm guilty of this more than anybody. Yeah, you can run Warframe on Wine under Linux. Piece of cake, no problem. Put it on Peppermint, bang, beautiful, no problem. Put it on Solus, oh, it's like a flick book picture, then the bloody thing crashes, and a lot of the textures render pure black, and you think, oh, crap. You try it on Arch, and it runs again like a picture book, and you put it on something else, and it works. Then you put it on something else, put it on Debian, it won't even boot up. Look, I think Sudo nailed it. It's experience.
Say that one more time. You cut out there, Bob. Steve.
Sorry about that. It's my 56k dial-up connection here. It's struggling.
Just say the last punchline there.
The Sudo said.
I think, Sudo nailed it. I think I am coming round to the view now that Linux on the desktop is 100% an individual. Being soulless Linux heaven on my machine, Zeb's experience might be, yeah, okay. Big Daddy, he might have an absolute freaking nightmare. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Well, somebody would say, fill your boots.
It is an individual thing because different hardware, everything, how many are here? 8 of us could all try the same distro, and we would all have different results with the different hardware.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm almost at the stage now. What's the point of doing distro reviews anymore? What's the distro review? Here's the latest Peppermint OS 27A Staser. Fabulous. It's got the LXQt desktop interface. It runs as slick as you like. Some chav in London with his latest Ryzen PC sticks it on, and it just locks up at boot. Oh, can't get by UEFI, it don't work crap. What are you going to do? Hey, English Bob, yeah, he's a right pile of dog do. He reckoned it was really good. Hey, locks up on my PC, done it. Fat lot of good he is. What a tube he is. What's the point anymore? Really?
Yeah, but for all of the people that comment like that, there are so many people that appreciate videos like you do for reviews, and even the gaming ones. So many people appreciate that, man. So you do it. What's the point of doing the reviews? You do it for the people that do appreciate it, and there are so many out there.
Well, let's hope so. I have to say, my happiest time on YouTube was Puppy Linux. And back in the day when I used to do the Puppy Linux videos, apart from Zeb there, 99.9% of people had not got the first clue about Puppet. And here's me all over YouTube. Oh, it's the bee's knees. It's great. You ought to see. And that was Puppy. And 99.9% people haven't got a Danny LaRue about it. There's no idea about it.
Great. Puppy's great.
You said Puppy Linux works. I can't even get it on a USB key. Yes, mate. Reach for the Windows 7 disk and call it a day, bud. Do you know what
I mean? Why don't you tell us what you really think, Steve?
Hope it plug and plays your drivers for you.
Yeah. It's brilliant. And then the final nail in the coffin was when they brought out the SFS file system outside of the operating system. Everybody's like, what? Really? What? Why is that good? Fetch me the rope. So I just think, whatever you say on YouTube now, I had a lovely guy come on the other day. He's really nice, and he posted under one of my live streams, "Hey up, you wrinkly old James Blunt," he called me. And I'm like, really? And I went and checked his YouTube out. He hadn't done a video for 3 years. And, load of crap. And you think, what's that? My drug is people. I love just trying to help people. But sometimes, you die by the sword of what you say. What are you going to do?
Yep.
Anyway, what were you all talking about? Windows?
No, we were actually in the middle of a Solus conversation.
Good time.
So, yeah, just being serious for a second, I'm having the minor issues.
Video. We heard about your videos with OBS and NVIDIA and how wonderful it was.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. The only reason I'm sitting here now with a fresh industrial pack of tenner for men pads is when I get a kernel update, because I'm afraid now my beautiful system's going to bust because I've installed the NVIDIA driver manually. But look, we'll work. Me and the pack of tenner pads, we'll work it out. All right, you know.
I'm actually surprised. Gen 2 handles the NVIDIA drivers surprisingly well. The only thing I have to. Yep.
Gen 2 is a wonderful operating system. Be under no illusions, right? But no disrespect to anybody. You're talking about people who can't find the power button on the PC. And we're sitting here talking about Gen 2. Really?
No,
really?
believe me. They'll tell you the first thing I said was, it is not for everybody. If you just want it to work, if you want it out of your way, nope, don't even go play with this.
I can't wait to see somebody live do a full Gen 2 install with the latest Ryzen equipped PC. Oh, good luck with that. Yeah. Oh, Gen 2. Pff, Google use it. It's that slick. Yeah. Can't wait to see that live stream. Great.
Yeah, but Gen 2 is the same way as Arch. You got to have the time. You're not going to just pick it up and install it. It ain't going to happen.
If you Daddy, you got to have the time. That's your retirement gone, and that's just to build it. What are you on about?
Yep.
You're done, bud. You're done.
You gotta have time to fill your boots.
Fill your boot. Who keeps saying fill your boots? Because I'm going to chuck my boot at them in a minute. Anybody who think I'll come out with these phrases willy-nilly.
Well, what do you think? Ben's trying to get me to try Chakra. What do you think?
Chakra, I like Chakra. I think it's a great little distro. Really, really good. But it's one of them Bertie Bassett distros. It's like a bag of licorice, all sorts. You never know what experience you're going to get. And some people love it. Some people can't be doing with it. So all I can suggest you do is try it. But it's a nice little... And I also like the way they've done the repos. But don't forget, Chakra broke away from Arch and did all their own repo things. So it's a little bit like Manjaro. Does anybody on the planet really believe that Manjaro quality and stress test every single piece of software before it's released in their repos? Really?
No, absolutely not.
No.
No
But
way.
that's the impression they give, you know, so try it. All I can say is try it. But I like it. It's a nice little distro.
Having said that, I don't understand the problems that people have with Manjaro. I've just reinstalled a 3-month-old backup I had, went up to the update manager, installed about 1200 meg of updates, Bing, reboot, next. So it's just down to the hardware you're running.
Yeah, again, we go back to the hardware.
I disagree with you, Zeb. You're 50% correct, but like it should say on every computer, Intel inside, idiot outside. And unfortunately, it's the users that bust the distros and then blame the distro. I've done it myself. I've done a beautiful Debian Stretch 9 build. It was running sweet as not. But no, I had to faff around with the kernel. Leave it alone. I'm not going to get to the moon with it. Leave it. But no, Stevie boy had to give it the Barry McGuigan. Smash the system. Debian's a load of crap, isn't it? Hello. It's the dingbat. Hello, dingbat.
You know, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that. A month and a half ago, I had a really nice setup Debian 9. It was beautiful. It was great. But I had to mess with the NVIDIA Optimus driver because I hate the open source NVIDIA driver, and I blew up Debian.
Yep, absolutely.
That's
I could have easily
Linux user. We were talking about that last week too. We said that, you know, if you're a hardcore Linux user, you're not happy till you break it, and that's typically what happens. You always got to mess around with something.
Couldn't agree more.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't have any problems whatsoever.
Yeah, but Daddy, you've not reached the old Git Tinkerer stage. You will.
Keep the gaming videos coming. I'm loving them. I was one of the top. Matter of fact, if you don't remember, well, first time we're seeing face to face, Joe Panicos, who is the one that comes into your stream sometimes, and you turned me on the American Truck Simulator And actually, I've got Euro on here. I tried driving it, and you know what? I've driven professional trucks years ago but I never. The hardest thing I drove was a street sweeper. You sat in the middle of the thing and it steered from behind. But driving on the opposite side of that truck in those little roads they give you, that's taking a little getting used to.
Well, listen, I think it's fantastic that you love a bit of truck simulator. If you think that's bad, how bad do you think the shock was going from Euro truck to American truck? And hey ho, in the United States, you can turn right on red. Can you imagine that being introduced in Europe? Oh my God.
Yeah.
I give Leary OS.
Plus, I didn't realise you can't just turn right on red. You have to stop, and then you can turn right on red. Wow. Talk about alien concepts. But if
those tickets all the time, I did that too. I tried doing it once, and I didn't.
Well, if it works, it ain't stupid, is it?
Yeah, and I was like, you see $1,000. It's like, My grandson is 3 years old, and he comes in. Can we drive the big trucks? So he even likes the simulator game. And then, especially if a couple times I've hit the guardrail and then the jackknifes, and he starts laughing. I said, "That's not funny," you know. So.
Yeah, but Steve,
you just nailed it there.
Red lights.
You know, how cool is that? You and your grandson sharing an experience on something where you're not facing hordes of bleeding, drooling zombies, or you're not blowing the crap out of us. And that was really the whole point behind it. Because when my son said to me, "Dad, you got to get Euro trucks," I'm like, "Really? Do I look Italian? Euro truck simulator? Really? Excuse me, what? I've got to sit and drive a pretend truck?" And he's like, "No." And I never cease to be amazed by people. How wrong can I be with my perceptions of things? Well, I think I've demonstrated that over the years with shit videos.
The truth of the matter is if you're into the shooter games and that kind of stuff, you might have a hard time adapting to it. To me, I looked at it as it was a nice switch. And again, because I drove truck for a living, I didn't drive a semi, but I drove a bunch of other stuff. I drove wreckers and all that. So I could kind of relate to it. But I just, like my truck now, I can't pimp it out enough. I mean, that's some of the things I noticed you do.
Good for you, dude. That's fantastic. That's wonderful. Look at Zeb. Zeb has now got more profiles across 38 distros than anybody on your own. Do you know what I mean? I mean, this guy is a serial profile creator. Fantastic. You know why it's fantastic? All joking is that because the guy loves it. He's enjoying it. And that's really the point I tried to badly put over with Linux. Find your Linux. Leave it alone. Just leave it, let it run, and do what you want to do on it. Simple. Yeah. So anyway, can we do a quick straw poll? What's everybody's daily driver on here? Mine, as you know, is Solus. Daddy, what's your daily driver, man?
Right at the moment, Ubuntu GNOME.
Ubuntu GNOME. Oh, interesting. Zeb, what's your daily driver?
Peppermint 7.
Yeah, great shout. Great shout. The gorgeous-looking young guy at the end. Can I have your number after the show? What's your daily driver? Sorry, I can't. I'm English, and I carry on.
That's okay. Well, you can all probably guess I run Gen 2, and this is what my daily thing would look like.
Gen 2. Impressive. Most impressive.
Is your fingers arch. Distribution that he began to develop that I was in correspondence with Dan back then. It still runs fine. It's my
are you using midfingers?
Yeah, and one partition I have Solus, one partition I have Ubuntu Alpha, the Mate Alpha, and the other Chakra. And Chakra is the second one that I use.
Fabulous. Well done, you. Go you. Impressive. Next one, please. There's 3 of you left.
Alan?
I am, strangely enough, using Elementary.
Really? Hey, no, that's really cool. Somebody actually uses Elementary. That's fantastic.
Exactly.
I know. Look, I didn't mean it. Look.
Somebody
I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. Fabulous.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, the gentleman at the bottom on the right with the T
Steve, we're all in different places, mate.
Yeah,
that's all right. That's all right.
What colour shirt they got?
Joe, what do you use?
Black and white.
Linux Mint Mate 18.2.
Linux Mint Mate. Yeah, great shout. It's not a bad distro, that. Yeah, cool.
Colin?
Oh, what about the gentleman that's froze on the far right?
Oh, Solus Budgie.
It's Colin.
Yeah, Solus
Colin, what are
Budgie.
you using?
Can you hear me?
He's
or
using
you
Linux
can't
from
hear
scratch,
me?
I can tell.
No, he's just your connection's
he's
just
building it,
lagging.
look, and he's
He's running Solus Budgie.
He's running Solus Budgie. Hey, another Solus user. Woohoo! Wow, that's 3 of us. Cracking. Happy days. Well, there you go. What a lovely... I'm surprised nobody here with your... I mean, look at the level of knowledge that we've got here. Wow, I'm surprised nobody's doing a bit of Linux from scratch.
I'm crazy.
I've thought about it, but time is a factor. I almost have to wait for like a Christmas holiday or something.
Yeah, well, actually, I would suggest you wait until you turn perhaps 60, 65-ish and you hit retirement and do a bit of Linux from scratch. You'll find it eats your days. Fabulous.
No, start now and you might finish it by then.
Yeah, amen to that.
To that age, the less I want to do with LFS.
And not a KDE user to be found. What the heck?
That is really interesting, isn't it?
Well,
I used to be a
Chakra.
KDE user.
Chakra's KDE.
Yeah, Chakra's KDE. Very true. Yeah,
So Sill's using KDE.
very true.
I was KDE before I abandoned desktop environments, although I still love Cinnamon, especially because it's definitely stabled out and improved a lot, especially in the last year.
So what are you using? Are you on i3 or something?
I'm on Awesome. Awesome.
You're on
Window
Awesome.
Manager.
Oh, that's interesting. So quite an advanced user then, really.
You know, I mean, I play around with it a little bit. Initially when you first start playing with a window manager, you do spend a lot of time customizing and tinkering, which I think everyone else can relate with because we all like to make our machines look pretty. But lately, I'd say within the last 6-8 months, I've actually been doing more stuff with like playing around with Ruby programming, interfacing with PostgreSQL database, a little bit of Unity 2D development when I'm bored, just because the Unity engine actually runs beautifully on Linux. Any of you who are on any kind of Debian-based distro, it runs just fine. If you ever are curious about playing around with a Unity game engine, I would definitely recommend trying it out, tinkering with it if that's your thing. But and this is part of where maybe I might focus more of my effort on if I ever decide to start making my own videos and posting them on YouTube. But I would be documenting like the initial setup. So like I work in information security. So let's say I want to set up the OpenVAS scanner, right? And you want to find out how would I set this up if I'm not using something like Kali Linux, right? So I would basically document how I set that up, through Gentoo, but I can also quickly cover how you would do it using APT, Yum, or any of the other common package managers out there. And then, that information is there for anyone who ever might be maybe doing the same thing. I don't know. Maybe it might be helpful for somebody, maybe not. It's certainly helpful for me because I honestly don't remember half the configuration changes I make sometimes. So when you don't have a backup, it's very frustrating.
What do you think of Joe's Window Manager if you only run Windows managers and not desktop environments? Have you used it?
Actually, no, I haven't. I've been using Awesome for pretty much the entire time I've been on Gentoo, so over 3 years now. I've been using Awesome. I haven't really moved around from it much. I tinkered around a little bit with i3 and Xmonad. Xmonad, I might have to revisit it later. It's kind of hard for me to get ahead of the learning curve on that now because my time is a lot more limited. I guess I had the benefit of having already kind of set up my machine the way I want it before my career and everything else kind of went into full swing and all my free time evaporated. So, I mean, I know how to manage and work around my day-to-day stuff in Gentoo, but it would be really hard for me to try and make a really major switch to anything more complex. If I was going to make a distro switch, I'd have to go back to something a little more simplistic. Like Debian, any one of those. Something that stays out of my way because I don't have a lot of time to figure out how to make it work the way I want.
Well, you have energy. That's wonderful.
the GR sync that I use that lock this up, that's what I was actually looking to do, was basically make a copy of my complete setup of my main system here, so I can, that if I ever trash, instead of having to reload everything or whatever. But again, it's, you know, that's probably, as much as it's frustrating sometimes, it's not, in the sense that when it's how you learn, it's the learning curve. You know, there's, I don't,
yeah, it really is.
I mean, I'm learning, I'm still probably the biggest novice out of the group here. And yet, to me, when I look at where I was even a couple years ago, I mean, I started playing with this back, like I said, when Ubuntu, I think it was 6 or 7 or whatever it was, came out. It was in the earlier days. And when you had to basically even put your distro together in bits and pieces and put the Wooby in there and, you know, do it on a Windows machine to you know, basically put it on a CD. It wasn't even a DVD back then. It was a CD because it was small enough. And, you know, I liked it then, but I kind of went away from it for a while. And then when Microsoft started everything they were doing with Windows, that's what pushed me back onto this again. And I now I'm like this biggest advocate. If I could change as many people over this as I can, and yeah, like everybody else, we all use Windows for, you know, whatever we have to use it for. But my one machine barely gets turned on anymore, and I was on the Windows side playing Battlefield before I came onto the show tonight. But honestly, I think learning from scratch, or learning from gentlemen like you that put out videos. That's why, you know, Steve, when you said, you know, who cares about doing distro reviews? After a while, I think, like anything else, when you have been out there watching stuff long enough or whatever, it seems like it gets old. But you know what? To me, if you pick up something new or whatever, and there is definitely a difference in how people do their distribution reviews too. There are some that just sit there, they're so monotone, you don't even want to look at them. And there's other ones that I think you do a good job. I think that Rocco does. You know, I mean, I appreciate that. So, you know, for me, that's a lot of how I learned what I did. And that's when I started testing this, getting on the Steam gaming. And I thought, well, let me see if I can, how well I could do on the Linux side and get games that I might like. Yeah, I like Battlefield, but honestly, I don't play it nearly as much anymore. I'm always on American Truck Simulator or War Thunder or something like that. And
Joe, how big is your main Linux?
What's
Joe,
that?
how big is your main Linux partition that you want to back up?
I didn't hear you.
How big is your main Linux partition?
Well, now the hard drive I just put in is a 500 gig drive. So let me see. I think it's 4 something. Let me look it up here real quick.
I usually just throw everything into an XZ file. And
right now, as it sits, no, it's not even. It's actually 530. No,
right.
Sorry, no, I'm sorry. 442.
So you're using the whole hard disk. You see,
No,
I have.
No. That's. Let me explain. That's free. So I only have 8.4% put up on here. What it was is just as an example. Now let me compare it to Windows again. When you get Windows, the first thing they want you to do is make a repair disk or a restore disk or whatever on what it was. You know, once you get everything set up, so that if you do have to reboot it, it's not necessarily factory. It's factory plus your tweaks, like for whatever software or whatever, before you do anything else. So no, I've got actually 442, and believe it or not, last time when I had the last distribution on here, when I changed over and did that, I actually put it in there without a swap partition. This time I let it do it on its own, and I'm surprised at how much space it took. It took 17 gigs on here for swap, which is ridiculous. So, so I, you know, I may very well reload this again without swap again, but I've got 16 gigs of RAM, so I don't think swaps is critical, or just leave it alone. It doesn't bother me.
Did you say last week you have drive?
You're chopping up. I can't.
Did you say last week you have a PhD silicon power drive, external SS?
No,
well, I don't know if Zeb has told you, but Zeb has one of the rarest hard drives on the planet. He bought it from a guy called Mr. I've never heard of him, Mr. Doc Emmett Brown. Now, it's 4.3 gigabytes, and he's got 100,000 100 gigabyte partitions on it, and it's the core. Now, I know they're expensive, but you know, Zeb, tell them Emmett Brown hard drives, fantastic. Where we're going, we don't need SATA cables. Trust me. Sorry, Zab, I couldn't resist that, dude.
Where does he get this stuff from? I generally install my distros on a 100 gigabyte partition, so I then use GNOME Disk Utility to just back them up to a 2 terabyte drive. So if I then want to refresh something or I want to restore something, I just boot up a live CD, open up GNOME Disk Utility, and restore the backup to the partition. And I do that about 10 minutes after I've got it up and installed and working. Make me back up so I can always go back to it.
Yeah, my backup drive is 4 terabytes, so it's not like I don't have any room on there. And right now, I don't have that much on the distribution, but again, it's still going through and putting each individual software program back in. And not that it's that cumbersome. That's actually the beauty of Linux, I think, is going in and, you know, just popping in whatever you want. It doesn't take that long, but when you get like who was it that was saying, again, I apologize, there's some people I'm just meeting tonight, the young man with the Gen 2. Like you said, you get everything set up the way you want, you know, it's tweaking the, you know, whether it's the theming or whatever, it's that kind of stuff that takes the time to get it back the way you want it looking again and all the little simple stuff, so.
Yeah, and honestly, it's a lot harder on a desktop environment. It's actually something I kind of took for granted and didn't really start thinking about until I started doing it with my window managers. But I back up my window manager configs. So they're just like one config file or like maybe a bundle of config files and directories for like theming. But all I do is just back those up. And I actually keep them in a GitHub. So whenever I do, like if I'm playing around with Arch or Mint, or it doesn't matter what distro I'm pulling in. I mean, when I have my base install, whether it's Arch or Gen 2, all I do is just pull in all my configs, install awesome. As soon as I hit Start X, boom, there's my there's my environment. So I still have to go fetch programs, granted, but you know my base environment is set up.
What are you using to do your backups with then? And that's the thing. That's I was trying to find a more solid. That's why I thought,
this really is amazing, isn't it? Listening to everybody talking about backups. Let me just drag you all back with a big hook to the good old Puppy Linux, where you've got a master hard drive size of about 2 gig, and you can back it up zip. How cool is Puppy, eh? And we're all talking here about, well, I've got a 28 gigabyte backup drive. Yeah. Good luck. I've got a chroot boot load home var. I've got 48 petitions. Yeah. Oh yeah. Best of luck with that. Yeah. I'm going to pop in for the wife for an hour. You enjoy backing your root and boot up, mate. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Steve, do you use Puppy every day?
Yeah. Do you want to see my Puppy?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what that should be. Yeah, that's a real. Now I could do with the screenshot.
We'll have to edit that one out.
There's my Puppy on a 16 gig USB stick, where it's been since day one. And do you know what? To back that up takes me about 5 seconds, and I've got everything. And do you know what else I love about it? And you lot can all fill your boots and rip me. Is I love Fluxbox and Joe's Windows Manager. In an age where everybody wants gorgeous glass, silky smooth desktops, you load something like Fluxbox up. Jesus Christ, is it quick running from RAM? Oh my God, what? And everybody's like, oh, you're just old. Why would you want to use that?
And really? You can feel like you're in 1999.
Yeah, but
that's
yeah,
what XFCE is
but
for.
Daddy, do something on it. If you blink, you'll miss it. Where you're waiting for your, gorgeous KDE Plasma widget to load on the goddamn desktop. I've done there, been there, gone. I'm gone. What are you waiting for, dude? So yeah, and because I'm old and retro, yeah, I do love the old. I can't help it. I love it. It's in my blood, I guess.
Zeb loves XFCE too, so that's from 1999 as well.
I didn't hear you. Sorry, say again.
I said the only backup for Joe's that I've ever needed to do, Joe's Window Manager, is an email with some attachments to myself. That's it.
Yeah.
I can put it on just on my.
And as I say, I mean, there's your whole system. And how cool is it to go to somebody else's PC, plug that in, straight onto your Brazzers Premium account, bit of edification, pull that out, and there's no trace you were ever there. It's fantastic. It's so cool. But most people don't get it. It's like, oh no, I like the Tor browser better. You know what I mean? I won't use Puppy. I like Tor. Yeah, good luck with that. Somebody even posted on the Puppy video I did a few days ago. Steam works on Puppy. Oh yeah, well done, Malcolm. You get a cookie. Let me go get you a glass of milk. Really? Oh, really? Oh, I just, I'm ready for some monastery somewhere. You know what I mean? I've got to learn something.
Yeah, if you remember,
at one stage, I actually thought of rebranding myself Ministry of Linux. I should rebrand myself Monastery of Linux. Get a large brown Hessian sack robe with a hood on it. Do you know what I mean? And people would be like,
in the white coat behind you, Steve.
Yeah.
Puppy ears.
Does your Linux distro come with them cats? Can have free sniff or something? Yeah.
Steve.
Best of luck with that.
I neckbeard.
Say again.
Then you will become a neckbeard.
Yeah, I should. Well, this is, my wife goes mad because she says it's like kissing a toilet brush, and I can't. She says She says if I could stick a stick up your arse, I could clean the toilet with your face. And I'm like, well, I thought you did that in life anyway, love. You know what I mean? But look, I can't. I'm old. I just can't. I get. The women that I get sit in my taxi these days and chat me up. We the self while they're chatting me up. Why would I worry about what my face looks like? You know what I mean? Them days are gone for me. I'm old. I don't care.
Well, that's the end of the English Bob video this evening. Thanks very much for joining.
Well, this is the danger when you invite me in. As my lovely father said before he died, God bless him, Stephen, you have been a comedian your whole life. The only thing you've ever missed is a stage. I've got my stage. You know what I mean? I'm,
now, Zeb,
on YouTube.
It's stay tuned for the next English Bob video.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just like to do something different. You know what I mean? And it's like feeding the birds in the morning with a round of bread. Do you know what I mean? And you do this video and you put it up and it's great and you think, I'll see you next time for another English Bob video. And then you get somebody come up, hey, you decrepit old git. What a load of pap that was. And you think, really? That just took me a couple hours to do. Thanks, dude. I'm switched on, I'm in the real world. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, people don't get how much time is invested in doing that.
You see, this is what made me laugh. This is what made me laugh so much with the other video I did about the thumbs up, thumbs down, right? And this is the joke, right?
Wait, before you start, this is a family channel, just so you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely, no problem. And with the thumbs up and
that
thumbs
wasn't
down,
a family-friendly video.
Because everybody thought they'd push my buttons, thumbing the videos down, and I'm like, right, that's it. Do you know what? No more thumbs up, thumbs down on my videos. End of. You would not believe the dump storm of emails and PMs I got. Who do you think you are? So actually, the people who couldn't see their gorgeous little thumbs down are the ones that have thrown the toys out the prom. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. So, it's all good fun, isn't it?
Yep.
It's a family show. When did that happen? You got Zeb on here. It's a family show, really?
It's a family show.
What, Family Guy? That type of show?
No, not quite.
Why do you
think the cutaways?
He has that picture behind him. When I look at that, I know what he's doing, and I don't want to be sacrilegious making fun of it, but it's like, oh my God, what are they going to say next?
Yeah, right.
No, it's not. I know exactly what he's doing. He's oh my God, it's English Bob. Oh my God, it's English Bob. Really? You've invited that guy in? Really? Oh Lord, really?
Yeah. Well, one of these days I'm going to actually have the time to switch. So from Gnome, I just don't have the time right now because I don't want to just go and switch my system up and take the risk of messing up the Destination Linux podcast or anything like that. So I got to actually have a couple days off before I actually switch. So that might not be for a while.
Enjoy Gnome while you can.
Yep.
It runs pretty well now. I mean, I used to bash on it a lot, but I no longer bash on it since having played with it recently.
Yeah, but a lot of people bash on it because it's different from, it's different from everything else. So if you actually run it and use it for a while, if it's the same way with Unity, there's a lot of people that don't like Unity, and you may run Unity and you still might not like it. But if you give Unity an opportunity to show what it's good at, it is pretty good at certain things. And I could run Unity without a problem. Yeah, you can't customize it as you maybe would like to, but it's the same way with GNOME. If you run it for a while, it'll grow on you.
But isn't that what they're doing with the new Ubuntu Mate, where you could put the Unity menu on the side and make it look just like it if you want?
And it actually not just looks like it; it actually acts
Works.
like it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the HUD, yeah. So, yeah, what was the Ike's point? What was the Ike's point about GTK3 and even in the future not having a future? What was the? I mean, he seemed to imply that GNOME development has a limitation that's built in, hardwired somewhere. And I was trying to understand what he was saying, and I couldn't get it. I'm done.
Well, no, I think what he was saying was that just the fact that GNOME continually changes breaks everything downstream. So it got to the point where Budgie, they had to make Budgie act like GNOME throughout the whole operating system rather than be allowed to make it what they want. Okay. And with going with Qt, they can make it exactly what they want, and it doesn't break everything.
Right. He's not going KDE specific. He's going Qt libraries. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Which work just fine even on a GTK heavy system. I mean, even in a window manager, I've got my fair share of Qt and GTK applications. They both run just fine.
Right, well, this extraordinary League of Linux gentlemen, I'm afraid I've got to make like a tree and leaf as I have to go to work today, which is a real bummer because I hate work.
Yeah,
I'm so glad I have the weekend off.
I tell you, the guy that said a day's hard work never hurts anybody.
You filled ours.
If he says fill your boots once more, I'm going to throw puppy at him. Listen, it's been lovely and wonderful to share a bit of time with you all.
Well,
Much
we do
love
this
to
every
each and
Friday
every
night,
one of you.
man, if you want to return.
Yeah, thank you. It's very kind. And I'll try and remember next time that it is a family show. And this is not South Park, but it's very true what they say. I have absolutely no life. I'm building Linux from scratch.
It was great meeting face to face, Steve.
Cheers, all. You'll keep well. Enjoy your Linux. Thanks, guys. Much love, Zeb. Take it easy, man. I'll catch you all real soon. Cheers.
Later.
He's hilarious, dude.
That was great.
I was all laughing. That's for
Yes,
sure.
he is.
Just gotta.
I remember watching many of his videos.
Well, that's why I stopped him right away because I watched that video, and if he said anything about that video, oh my God.
That was very colourful, to say the least. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I was worried about, and I wrote in there. Obviously, I always try to have something kind to say because I think the world of them. But with YouTube and a lot of the crazy stuff they're doing, I was worried. I thought, God, I hope they don't turn around and take them down because that was as colorful as you get. You know.
Yeah, that was.
He's done worse. You broke up again, dude.
Yeah, Ben, you're breaking up, brother. Try it again.
I said, what part of England does his dialect indicate he is from? Not
all of them.
I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know, man.
I think he's sort of like just, well, I wouldn't say just north of London, but he's probably somewhere around, I think he said he was somewhere around Nottingham area.
He's mentioned where he's been before, but I don't recall.
Elvis said Yorkshire.
No, it's definitely.
Doesn't sound.
I don't know, to be honest with you. So.
Yeah, I'm easy. I'm London, so mine's easy to work out.
Well, then you get that middle zone where you're not quite sort of exposed to all the northern accents, and then you're not quite exposed to all the southern accents. So people from the north think you're from the south. People from the south think you're from the north.
Sometimes think about it. It might be from Lincolnshire.
Wisconsin, I was told I have an accent. Now I go back there and visit family. They tell me I've got an accent up here until I start getting my Italian coming back up again, and then it's like, you know, so.
We pay money down here to teach people not to speak Texas.
Yeah.
I remember going down because I live in Arizona, and our sort of way of speaking, at least in terms of America, is a very plain kind of uninteresting accent. And when I went over to Arkansas to visit family, I came back saying taters and all kinds of weird things I never thought I'd say in my life. And
well, that's the thing. You go across country here, and you talk, and they go, oh, or even you go. When I hear people say, "Oh, I love your accent," I go, "What accent?"
Exactly. Yeah. Really
I talk to guys out in the Midwest, and I say water, and they're like, "What?
Wow.
What? What's the matter?" I say water.
I get told I have an accent too, and I'm all like, "Wait, what? What accent?"
But the question is, Rocco, can you speak Goomba?
Where's Carmine when you need them? Yeah. Well, in New York and New Jersey, my father lives in Florida now, originally from Chicago, and some of his friends down there were from New Jersey. And he said one of them used to go there. He goes, "Yeah, it comes from a heart." And he goes, "What do you mean heart? Heart? You mean heart?" And he goes, "Yeah, your heart, your heart." You know, so it's like, and then we say gym shoes, they say sneakers. We say cart, they say wagon. You know, when you go shopping, so it's pretty fascinating to hear. So.
That's just like within the country. I mean, that's
right. And Zep's going, I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
We have the same if you go to Newcastle or Glasgow.
Yeah.
It's all English, but it's just gibberish.
And
they can't understand us either.
Is that the Geordie dialect?
The Geordie dialect, yeah.
Yeah, it's a foreign language.
Well, and that is true because I know I've come across, I don't know who these people are, but you know, you do a search for something and you'll come across somebody that's doing it in an English accent, and they're going, "Oh, this," and I don't get bloody things, and you know, and you try to, and I'm going, "What are you saying?" You know, you could tell it's English, but you can't tell what the heck he's saying because it sounds like it's all like you're not opening your mouth when you speak, and we get that here too. You get like you mentioned the Southern, you get some Southern, they call them Southern drawl. Oh my God, some of them are super heavy to the point where you're going, "What are you talking about?" You know, it's like no articulation with it.
Well, then you get those moments where they speak really fast as well, and it really throws me off.
Yeah, I think all of our user manuals in Linux are written in people's native dialects. That's why none of them are terribly readable.
I mean, that's why they're so difficult to decipher. It's like you need a lexicon to make sense. My translator.
Yeah, I mean, my uncle by marriage and his Yiddish accent, but when he writes a user manual, that's what I'm seeing when I see a lot of things. Nano user. Oh, come on. What to do? What, when, where? Why don't you just put in what you want me to type, but I can't.
That's kind of like Seinfeld. You remember Kramer when he was doing the phone calls coming in for the show, and he goes, "Okay, what show did you want to see? And why don't you tell me what you want to see?" You know, it's kind of that thing. You know?
Oh man, I miss that show.
It was fun. Yeah, it was a different kind of humor, but it was hilarious. You could.
He said it was a show. He said it was a show about nothing. It was really funny.
Well, and so was The Office. The Office was a lot like that too, really, when you think about it. There is a moral to it, I guess. And my kids were just explaining that the other day. They said, "Well, once you figure it out, there is actually kind of a storyline to it." And I go, "Where?" You know, I've watched it for so long. It's funny,
I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty
if you
funny.
look in the appearing messages, that YouTube video sums up the problems with dialects if you've never watched it. The two Scottish guys in the talking lift, and they're trying to get to the 11th floor. If you've never watched it,
it's a good one.
Take 4 minutes. It just sums up dialects.
It is wonderful.
Yeah, I'll have to watch it. You know,
obviously,
how many things get you laughing so hard? You know, I mean, it seems like there's very few things, it seems like, anymore that really get you in stitches, you know? And I don't know what it is about animals. There's a
a YouTube channel out there that's all about animals. If you, I don't remember the name of it, but if you search like funny cats or funny, it was something like that. Oh my God! And my kids post this stuff. I couldn't stop laughing so hard. But that being said, recently a friend of mine on Facebook, he posted, it was 3 letters, WTF, and they shows this picture of his pizza. He made homemade pizza sitting in his oven, and he put too much cheese in, so the center fell out, went down to the bottom, and it looked just like somebody puts nuke. Looks like a mushroom cloud. Just the responses. I laughed for probably 20 minutes. I couldn't stop. It was just the way the picture looked, and then the responses. It was pizza in an oven that exploded, but it was the most funny thing I ever seen. And it just.
It must be something with me and Lift.
WTF that just said it all, you know.
Because if ever I want to cheer myself up, I just go and watch the Peter Sellers sketch with him and all the other gangsters in the lift.
Yeah.
If you've never watched it, look for the Peter Sellers in the lift.
Oh, over here we call them.
I've never seen it.
Elevators, which is
Elevators.
Yeah.
There you go. You see, sidewalks and pavements.
Yeah. Yeah. We call autumn fall because leaf fall down. I don't.
Hood and trunks.
Yeah.
And let's not go anywhere near the word spots.
I think that'll be it for this Friday Night Live. We're going to end it there. And we will return maybe next Friday. But next Friday, just so you know, it will be later. Well, it may be a little bit later because I do work next Friday, so I won't get home till at least 11:30. So may start a little late.
And you've got to have your Rocket League game first.
Well, I mean, no, I probably won't get Rocket League in next week, but it's going to be late because by the time I get home and get everything set up and everything, it may be 11:45, 12 o'clock. So.
Well, I was in the Hangout. I was looking for the show tonight, and I didn't see an announcement, and so I got in a Hangout with a friend of mine. And all of a sudden, here, ding! I go, oh, you got a text. He goes, no, it's a notification for your friend's show that's coming on tonight that you were on last week. I said, oh, and I look over, there's the bell. I go, oh, I guess I'm going to jump over.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody have a good night in the chat. You guys all have a great night.
It was fantastic as usual. Thanks very much indeed.
Take care. A lot of fun.
Have a great night. Bye all.
Good night.
Good night.
I can't find the end button. Oh, there it is. Oh, jeez. Right.